All right, this is the Fight Nerd here with Mauro Ranallo, new commentator of the upcoming New Japan Pro Wrestling TV show on Axis. Mauro, we can't talk about New Japan without talking about Wrestle Kingdom 9, which just happened very recently. A really great event, amazing way to start the year. Let's run down the show real quick. And first off, obviously Tanahashi versus Okada was amazing. But for me, watching that show, I think Nakamura versus Ibushi for the IWGP Intercontinental title was my favorite match of the night. What do you say about that? Would you agree with that?
I have to pair it what you're saying. I thought Tanahashi and Okada put a fitting, a denouement on what was a spectacular event, especially the second half. And I understand that the first half of the show a little rushed, and with the 4-hour North American pay-per-view window, maybe that was the biggest reason why I think there weren't maybe the elaborate entrances that we're used to seeing at the Japanese equivalent of WrestleMania. But I agree, Tanahashi and Okada, their chemistry, I could watch them wrestle 100 times and always be enthralled. And the fact that they continue to add nuances and change the story, and yet it's still very simple in terms of following along in the execution. It's all about their finishers, the high fly flow for Tanahashi, the rainmaker for Okada, and the struggle. The struggle to be the better man and to impose the will and skill and to sell it. And I just listened to Jim Ross on his recent podcast with Dixie Carter, the TNA president, and he said it's something that shouldn't even be said, but I guess needs to be nowadays. The most important aspect of professional wrestling is selling. And with you in New Japan, you see it on their faces. I've had friends who are casual fans that don't really follow pro wrestling that have seen some of New Japan with me now, and they cringe and go, "Holy smoke, that looks like it hurt." Well, guess what? It did hurt. It's a shoot style hybrid form of pro wrestling, and you got to see it even more in the Nakamura Ibushi matchup, because you had that styles contrast, the high flyer Kota Ibushi that channeled his inner tough guy. He showed a very rare, ultra aggressive side, knowing what was at stake, knowing that he had to defeat the incomparable Shinsuke Nakamura, who again is eccentric. He's a bit of an enigma. When you see him walking to the ring as a Statue of Liberty, then he gets into his Michael Jackson routine, and you just study his face. There's just something off about him. And yet when the bell rings, my goodness, man, is there a better storyteller in the business today? So you're right. When you have those ingredients, and hats off to Ibushi, who really, I thought I've always been impressed with him, but that was one of his most complete performances in terms of showing what he is capable of doing when it comes to the nuances of professional wrestling. So I agree, that was my favorite match of the night. But my friend, I mean, what other shows? And again, this is not meant to be detrimental. I want to see all professional wrestling promotions succeed. I want them to be unique and different, like a Lucha Underground, or what I'm hearing TNA may start doing, and even WWE. WWE has the capability to put together incredible shows and really the state-of-the-art production. If they want to do it, they can do it. For whatever reason, the product as it is right now, I find to be stale. I know I'm not the only one. And in New Japan, the product is all about the product, meaning what goes on in the ring, and yet it's diverse. You had the Never Open Weight Championship, which was a brutal. I'm talking, you talk about physicality between Ishii and Makabe, and it's not for the faint of heart, because they were pounding each other, and it was a different style. You had Kazuchi Sakuraba, the Pride legend, Minoru Suzuki. A lot of people thought, oh man, this is not going to fit on a pro wrestling show, but you're talking about two very intelligent and two very creative and talented individuals who know what the art form of pro wrestling is, and I thought that match also delivered. But AJ Styles said, so now there were enough matches in that second half of the show that were so incredibly executed that it's almost like, wow, we're being spoiled, because those could have been main events for the rest of the year. And those 5-4 matches, maybe the best matches you're going to see all year.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm surprised they stacked it that deep, but it was especially the second half of the show, it was a tremendous show. Now, let me ask you also now about Tanahashi and Okada, since we've been talking a lot about them. Tanahashi just retained the title, so what do you think is next for a guy like Tanahashi, and what does Okada do next?
Well, it looks like AJ Styles has already been announced as his next challenger in February for Hiroshi Tanahashi. I'm really looking forward to seeing AJ Styles and Tanahashi battle for the belt. I think AJ Styles is really, if it can be said about a guy in his 30s who was already one of the top workers in North America, he's really elevated his game, and I think he's enjoying himself again. And you can tell that he's having fun because the shackles of creative bankruptcy are off him, and he's able to do again what he does best, and that is perform. So I'm really looking forward to Tanahashi and Styles. Okada, man, again, look at the finish of the match as he's walking back to the dressing room. In tears, literally in tears, and this is why I think to myself, wow, how incredible is this? That this is what this means to them, and where if someone who's been around the business, been in the business, and have been a fan for 40 plus years, if I'm still going, wow, man, this gets me, then they're doing their job and then some. The suspension of disbelief is amazing because you genuinely empathize with a guy like Shinsuke Okada following the main event. So I think the sky continues to be the limit for him. And you talk about the depth of the roster. There's so many interesting matchups that can happen. And then that's kudos again to New Japan for continuing to just bolster its roster and put the individuals in certain situations where they're going to be allowed to shine. And it's all about the in-ring chemistry. You're only as good as your dance partner. And there's some terrific dancers in New Japan Pro Wrestling.